Asiwaju came with purity, honesty, and programs. And they've joined forces. And they provided a platform called APC. Now, you are going to have, because it's a political, terrain, a political voyage, you are going to have people of strange, you are going to have in the bed, strange bedfellows that will come on board. So it's a filtration process. As long as you keep filtering this thing, you're going to remove all the bad eggs as time comes. And we need you, the media, to keep focusing.
But you said something about having a new constitution.
Yes.
Mr. President will not be the one to sit down and draft all
He
of
will
this.
champion it.
It's the legislative
He will champion it.
Now, the issue is...
Like he told them, come and join the TSA. That's his championing. He will give the direction.
Okay.
And by giving the direction, Nigeria will key into it. Nigerians will key into it.
In killing corruption, we need the judiciary.
Look at the social media bill. Look at the social media bill.
We need the judiciary
Look at the social media bill. Some people, anti-people, enemies of Nigeria, try to put up a bill to gag Nigerians from talking. What the president said, he said he's not part of it, that he will not sign it.
True.
And he was with the people. And the people came out to protest.
The people came out.
They protest against it. Now that thing is almost dead.
It's dead.
If it's not dead. So you have a president that is with the people.
Okay.
And that's how it should be.
All right. Anyway, gentlemen, we may need to just move on into another discussion entirely, because if we go ahead and
we'll spend the next 2 years.
Yes, we'll just spend the entire show, really, because I have a lot of questions on my mind, to really ask in this particular one. But let's quickly take one of our, trending stories, and then that will lead us into our next discussion. Now, Senate seek probe of $40 million loan to aviation industry. Now, the Senate has mandated its Committee on Aviation and Anti-Corruption to commence investigation into alleged disbursement of $40 million loan for rehabilitation and development of infrastructure in the aviation industry. Now, the mandate is part of the 15-point recommendation adopted while considering reports of the other Committee on Aviation on the poor state of the aviation industry in Nigeria. Now, the report was presented by the chairman of the committee, Senator Rabiu Kwakwanzo from the Kano Central. Now, the committees were also mandated to probe 33.55 billion naira alleged to have been released by the federal government in 2011 for the same purpose. Now, the upper chamber further called on the Nigerian Airways Airspace Management Agency to stop the collection of navigational charges on all training aircraft in the country. Now, this is really very interesting, even though, glory be to God, in recent past, we have not heard about any plane crash in Nigeria. But that does not deny the fact that the Nigerian aviation industry is not top-notch. It's not something you want to compare with other nations of the world. Now, I traveled last week. And unfortunately, my trip actually took me to the city of Port Harcourt. And I was there. I remembered about a month ago, there was a report, there was a world report ranking the Port Harcourt airport as the worst in the world. Now, Nigeria is always, we always make that impact. I think so many things should take us into the Guinness Book of Records. And if the Guinness Book of Records is actually full, they should open another one, maybe HAP or Gulda or something. There's just be world record, because we break it at will. Now, the appalling state of the Nigerian, aviation industry. I really don't know how we get into this particular situation, knowing fully well that it is actually the entrance into this country by every standard nationals. If they are coming investors, they come through that wave. And we do a lot of things, via this particular sport across, our nation. What exactly is the current state of the aviation industry in Nigeria? That's my question to Benga, being an aviation expert.
Well, thank you very much, Dapo. It's so sad that the country that is termed to be the giant of Africa, and also with the highest GDP. And at times we pride ourselves so much in having the biggest GDP, and that things on ground are not painting the realities. As a nation that has so humongous GDP, humongous population, so much capacity to be a major player, even in the UN. let's come back to this $40 million loan, and you begin to ask yourself a question. What exactly are the priority of the people championing this thing? You mentioned Port Harcourt. I was seeing some sweet tweets on one of the renowned journalists of one of the media houses. He was in Port Harcourt. He took pictures, and this is the same airport, part of these funds were invested in. He said,
it's in ruins.
It's in ruins. Now, to come to think of it, airports are the most significant part of development of any nation. Let's come to the international airport in Lagos. Your airport are supposed to be like a monument to give investors confidence in your system. It's supposed to promote your country. When you get out of any airplane, if you come out of any airplane, you start feeling the heat. The central cooling system is not working. What you have all around are standing ACs. And that airport was designed years back with the model of Schiphol in Amsterdam. And Schiphol Airport have been upgraded several times all over. But that airport remains the same. You come into the immigration area, everywhere you are sweating to get your bag, even the baggage systems are all messed up. So when you now get out of the place, look at the road that leads to the international airport. Horrible.
Appalling.
And that's supposed to sell that state to somebody that is coming to the country for the first time. Now, one of the major challenges we have is government involved in business. There are some core areas. We are talking about devolution of power. Okay. We are talking about true federalism. It still works on these other areas of the economy. You are talking about, okay, allow resource control, which is championing. The same thing. Does government have a reason to hold on to running airports? You need to look at the expenditure of some of these agencies.
How about having a national carrier?
Good question. There are two sides to that.
Okay.
When you're talking about a national carrier, we used to have Nigeria Airways, because the same thing, government running business, the same people destroyed the airline, and the former president, Second Obasanjo, was able to woo Richard Branson back in Atlantic to come to Nigeria and set up a framework for us to build a flag carrier to help develop the aviation system. And it went on. If you're reading one of his books, the man had to move out because of this same corruption that we're talking about. And now, so if you're talking about a national carrier, let's look at the good sides. The national carrier, most of the airlines we have in Africa, they are national carriers. It has gone extinct in parts of Europe and West and America and all of that. Why? Because most of their governments started, airlines primarily are owned by either nations or owned by institutions. So over time, with the losses and the cost of running such humongous operation, it's humongous because the margin is quite slim, maybe less than 5%. And government cannot keep, the sunk cost on fueling alone is about 50% of your running cost. So a government, where do we have the money at this time to sink into that? So now, a national carrier, the model is what we got, the model and the approach to it is what we got wrong, probably with Nigeria Airways. And we work towards that using Virgin Nigeria as a vehicle to do that. That did not work as well. Now, just check, let me give you an instance. An average airline that flies into Nigeria, how many Nigerians do they employ? Probably 10, 15. How much of our funds that are moved out in terms of capital flights, how is the sector developed in terms of human capacity development? Because that is what aviation is supposed to do. Aviation is supposed to be a major driver of trade, commerce, and tourism.
That's very true.
That's what it's supposed to do. So if it's not, you are not having things like MROs, hangars, maintenance, all those structures here, then we are not started yet. Because most of our funds are, because most of the people doing technical maintenance for airlines in Nigeria, over 60% of them are expatriates. So you are talking about that also impacting our foreign reserve. I love what they did with the oil sector as a local content issue. I think we need to start visiting that on aviation.
Now, do we have the resources, especially in terms of human resources, that could help the aviation industry experience what we call indigenization policy,
What?
where you have just a quota for experts in that industry,
And the bulk,
then the bulk of the
Nigerians.
people who are
Okay,
actually
okay. Let me give you an instance. You have the issue of we have the issue which I still have a major concern against. You have the Ministry of Aviation, you have the NCAA, Civil Aviation Authority. All over the world, best practice in economies that things are working in the aviation sector. They don't have a Ministry of Aviation. They have a Department of Aviation. What they have is the Ministry of Transport. The Ministry of Aviation becomes a department under the Ministry of Transport. Now, the challenge we have a Civil Aviation Act in 2006 that is supposed to grant full autonomy based on ICAO standards. Your civil aviation should have full autonomy, should be the major driver, custodian, and regulator within the industry. But what we now have is the ministry, the NCAA still has to somehow report to the Ministry of Aviation, which takes away that autonomy, the power to make decisions, so which means it's an area that is driven and run by core technocrats. I will give you an example. Why you said our airspace is very safe. Why do you think it was very safe? It's very safe. Because we had technocrats, someone like Dr. Demore, then one of the XDG, that worked with other stakeholders to ensure we are granted a Category 3 status by the United States of America, their Federal Airport Authority. And that is what has made us to be, because if you see a Delta flying into Nigeria, a BA, you see Emirates flying from all key regions, doing about 4 or 5 flights daily. Then it means we have been able to develop some level of capacity in terms of safety and airworthiness. But now the major challenge is serious intervention in funding.
Okay, just hold on there, Gbenga. Let's take our first call on the show. Alex, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Engineer Dapo.
How are you
Good
today?
morning, Alex.
Yeah, happy New Year. Shoma, good morning.
Good morning.
And I believe you have a guest on studio there.
Yes, we do.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What is the focus of our discussion this morning? I'm calling from behind the curtain.
The very poor state of the aviation industry in Nigeria. Why?
Okay, you mean production industries?
Aviation industry.
Okay. You see, it is better informed. What with lack of electricity, for instance, I remember the Odutola company relocated from Nigeria, I think down to South Africa, all because of infrastructural decay. I think it behooves this government at least to do something infrastructurally. Good road networks, power generation, and it would be enough to attract the industry coming back again. So simply, that is my take, Dapo.
Okay, thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you.
Just one point on this aviation matter about the airport.
Okay.
With the state that we are in at the moment, the Honorable Minister of Transport mentioned something about concessioning the 5 international airports. I think it's a brilliant move. It's a brilliant idea if we can develop the framework and follow through on it. Airports are all over the world are run by private people for efficiency, for optimal performance, quick turnaround for the airlines, customers having a seamless experience at the airport. I don't have any seamless experience at my airport. I want to get out of the international airport the moment I get there. But if I go to the other one that is privately run, MM2, I can stay there all day. At times I even go there, I just sit down. That is the way.
The shortest time I spend when I go to MME2, maybe like 3 hours.
So I'm looking at, if you look at the budgets of some of these aviation agencies, like FAN, for example, you are looking at the cost of running costs for staff and all those things.
That's taking us into some other very important.
No, I'm just trying to relate that to how it's hampering.
Yes, I will allow you go there. Okay. Let's quickly go on a short break. When we come back, we'll still be talking about the challenges facing the aviation industry in Nigeria. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. I'm Dapo Banjo, and I have Ishoma Gaine with me. These two gentlemen, we've been talking about the challenges facing the aviation industry in Nigeria. We have Benga Onitilo here, and we have Comrade Ayodele Adewale. Now, let me quickly ask you this question. You were about saying something before we went on that break. Yeah. We have just about 7 minutes to end the show. Now, my concern is, if really and truly we have a very poor, the very poor or appalling state of the aviation, infrastructure in Nigeria, let me put it that way. Why is it taking so long a time for government to consider privatization?
Yeah, I won't say privatization.
Okay, maybe concession.
I would say concession.
Okay. Private individuals.
Not private individuals. We are looking for airport management companies. They are all over the world. Okay. A model has been given us in Nigeria by the MM2 airport to tell us this is the way to go. Because when you have agencies managing an airport and their recurrent expenditure of their budget is about 70%. So I'm beginning to ask yourself a question: where would they get funding? How is funding coming from? Training, empowerment, the start, because you have to start with empowering the people that work there to also even know what to do. Best practice. You are talking about infrastructural development at the airport. Let me give you an instance. I was speaking with a friend, and the airport in Ilorin, only 2 airlines, I think, fly there. I think maybe Arik and Overland.
Overland.
They said Overland has a generator they always put on when their flight is about to come. And when it goes, they switch it off. It means there's no power. The other airline, Arik, when it comes in, that is switched on for that period and it's switched back off again. You have some airports in Nigeria. Most airports in Nigeria can't run night operations. I was in Ethiopia. Ethiopia runs all through. You have a shuttle of flights coming in. So we are looking at serious infrastructural deficits. And I don't think we have the resource at the moment to expand on that. And what His Excellency Rotimi Amici said about we are considering that is a way to go. Because we need, but how it will be evolved with the people that are still in employment, not thinking about Nigeria Airways, that people were just let go of, NITEL, because we need to go back into history. What happened to NITEL? What happened to MTEL? What happened to most of all these government institutions that were sold off or concessioned, and now you have a lot of employees till date never got out any terminal benefits after so much humongous funds were brought in by the investors to take care of that. So my take is we need to start considering how to concession these are key airports. We have about 22 airports, about 28, 29. Only about 5 are profitable. You're talking about Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Enugu, and Kano. Those are the most profitable because what drives a destination? Some of the key things that drives a destination, you are looking at things like tourism, trade, commerce, commercial viability, and you now start hearing governors saying they want to open up airports. And I'm wondering, is a more secured way of filtering state funds? Because
so you don't support every state?
Why would you? Why don't invest in developing your road network and expand the road network and all that? We already have in most of
maybe a governor wants it to go into record that during my tenure.
Then ask yourself a question: how do you maintain that airport? Because it's the revenue that is generated by an airport.
If I may comment, when you started the discussion, if you want me, frankly, I was just laughing. I was just laughing all the way because you said the National Assembly want to probe into how $40 million was spent, and the architect of that pay frame is a senator.
Yeah, he's one of them.
Odua is a senator. Yeah. It was under her that those airports, quote and unquote, were renovated. Yeah. The last time I was at the International Airport, Muritala, was about 3 weeks ago, about 2 months ago, and I looked at the tiles. There were broken holes on the tiles. And I wondered that the people that built the airport put marbles. The best you would have done, even if you wanted to steal that money, you would have polished those marbles. You remove the good marbles and gave us a terrible tiles. The toilets, you can't even go to the toilets. And yet the woman is seated there. And they have a JV, a joint venture for power sharing, with the Senate president, PDP, and some breakaway of the APC, some disgruntled one, and gave you a Senate president, and he says he want to probe. Of course, they put a condition. The probe will not see the day of the light.
That's not what we need.
So I don't want to be distracted.
It's a distraction.
What I want us to focus on is the coming budget. Let them pass it very quickly. The Honorable Minister have told us how to go. I don't believe that, with due respect, sir, that government is not the best institution to run a business. It is the same element you find in government. When they retire, they go into private sector and they also do well. They use the conduit of government to siphon money into the private purse and run their business successfully. So government is a very good enterprise. It is for us, it is for us, one, to increase our surveillance. And you press have a lot to do. You are the watchdog. Keep bringing it to the fore.
But you need to know that there's
putting the beam light.
You need to know there's no law protecting the whistleblower.
So
investigative journalism is extremely difficult.
It's a struggle.
In Nigeria.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle.
Exactly.
We did not get here. We did not get here out of luxury. We struggled to get here. Some died. A woman gave the only 1 million naira she has. An old woman. Mm-hmm. Some people were in the sun. Some people were trekking. Some were writing just to bail us out of that quagmire. If that government had returned, I'm telling you, a lot of Nigerians would have gone out of... Ghana now is oversaturated. Their energy supply is going down because of the dependency on Nigerians in their economy. They have moved out of Nigeria to the Ghanaian economy. They are weighing their system down because they also are not expanding very quickly to that reality. It's an avalanche. And that's why the whole world warned that if there's a crisis in Nigeria, it will be worse than Syria, Libya put together, because of our population. People will go through the Atlantic to get to Brazil. Mindless of the Bermuda. So what I'm saying is,
your last word.
What I'm saying is, like he has noted, we can't bring players in not to privatize. We bring players in, let them run it.
Do you believe in privatization or concession?
I believe concession privatization is the same. It's a matter of semantics. Okay. It's the same. What I think government should do, let's look at it in percentage. Government can take 25% of the total running of the airport because they still have to inject some funds. True. And we are telling the private sector to come in.
I thought what government would do with just
we only have one runway.
Okay.
The investors are not crazy. You have a system that is in comatose. The infrastructure is in comatose. You want me to bring my money. Now, for me to bring in my money, you must assure me, I'm finishing, you must assure me that corruption must be zero, minus zero. Mm-hmm. Not even one, minus zero, for me to bring in my investment. And lastly, we can kickstart. That's why I don't travel. People wonder why I don't go to Abuja. I have not been to Abuja for about 2 years. I'm scared of doing local flight. Because of security and all of that. Now, we have a lot of easy jets in Europe, just lying down. We have a lot of... Why don't we attract them to come and do local flight here? No. You will say no. You will say no.
Not going to support that. This conversation.
We will create a competition.
Let me just make a point.
All we want is service.
Let me make a point.
We want to end taxes.
Let me just make this point.
You are saying no. You want these people to continue this thing.
Let me make a point. What you said about the airline.
No.
Let me make a point.
Is it possible to make that in 10 seconds?
It is very possible.
It's not possible because already at the moment you have airlines that are bleeding, that are being double taxed, that are not getting any form of support or subvention within Nigeria as well. So those one are major source of concern. You have airlines that have humongous liability.
National carrier, you brought in Virgin as a national carrier. So I don't want to bring their local fleet.
I want to say
increase services.
Thank you, Greg. I want
to keep dying in playground.
Thank you. All right. Bye for now. See you tomorrow morning. God bless.